Hey guys, this is VHP and today we're gonna take a look at the Dell XPS 15 with the Infinity display. This is the full HD version with an i7-6700HQ processor, 8GB of RAM and 256GB of M.2 storage. The case is made out of aluminum and carbon fiber, so the whole body is very sturdy and feels very solid. The XPS 15 is 17mm at its thickest point, so it's very slim and very easy to have with you, because it only weighs about 2 kilograms depending on which version you decide to get. On the right side of the laptop we got a SD card reader and a USB 3.0 port. On the left side we got the power input, a USB 3.0 port, a full-size HDMI port, a USB Type-C port with Thunderbolt capabilities, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. On the bottom of the laptop we got 2 rubber feet to increase the airflow and a ventilation port. We also got the 2 downward facing speakers. Because of what they call the Infinity display technology and the small bezels, it got a 15.6 inches display in a 14-inch footprint. This makes it very small for a 15.6 inches laptop. The Dell XPS 15 is most likely the best built Windows laptop ever made. The build quality is on par with the Macbook Pro or even better, thanks to the premium materials and the slim design. Now let's move on to the keyboard and the trackpad. Let's start off by looking at the trackpad. The trackpad got the glass finish and is very smooth to the touch. It got a variety of multi-touch function built into Windows 10, and the buttons are built into the touchpad. The buttons are easy to click and feels very tactile. All in all, this is the best trackpad I have ever used on a laptop. And if you come from a MacBook Pro, you will be very satisfied with this trackpad. Now let's move on to the keyboard. The keyboard is backlight illuminated in a single white color. And while I think the keyboard is decent to type on, it is nothing that really stands out. The key travel is a bit too short for my taste, coming from a mechanical keyboard. I don't think anybody will be disappointed, but I don't think anybody will be very happy about it either. One really good thing about the keyboard is that it doesn't sag and it feels very sturdy because of the carbon fiber construction. Now we're gonna move on to the screen. My sample got a full HD IPS panel, and most likely it is from Sharp. Overall, the panel is very good and the colors are excellent. It is very bright and extremely sharp. I must be honest and say it's one of the best Full HD panels I have ever seen. Because it is a IPS panel, the viewing angles are very good, but I can notice some IPS glow when I look at it from an angle. It covers around 98% of the sRGB color gamut. I do recommend the Full HD version because it's a very good Full HD panel, but if you need a sharper screen and touchscreen, I would go for the 4K version. Even though the 4K version is better, be prepared to pay a premium price and be prepared for a shorter battery life. Now let's move on to some performance numbers. We're gonna start off by looking at some CPU performance benchmarks. Single core performance in Cinebench R11.5 is 1.48 points, and multi-core performance is 7.49 points. In Cinebench R15, the single core score is 147 points and the multi-core score is 676 points. As we can see, the CPU performance is extremely good and are on par with some of the better desktop i7 CPUs. In Firestrike Standard, we scored an overall score of 3914 points, a GPU score of 4168 points, and a physics score of 9656 points. The physics score is really good, but the GPU score is a bit lacking. Now let's move over to some gaming benchmarks. The following games all ran at Full HD resolution. Batman Arkham Knight at high settings got an average FPS of 38, and on ultra settings it got a FPS of 18.8. On Metal Gear Solid 5 on high settings it got a FPS of 53, and on ultra settings a score of 37.9 FPS. Fallout 4 on high settings got 30 FPS, on ultra settings it got 24.7 FPS. And last but not least, on Rise of the Tomb Raider on high settings, it got FPS of 23 and on ultra settings an FPS of 21. As we can see, the CPU is a great performer, but in the graphics department it is a bit lacking. So if you want a good graphical performing laptop, this is not the right for you, but you will be able to play some low-end games and even some new games on medium to high settings. But don't expect to play Crysis 3 on ultra settings. The good thing is that we didn't see any throttling while we played any games. And when we ran Prime 95 stress tests, the CPU clock stayed around 3.1 GHz and the temperature was around 69 to 73 degrees Celsius. And also when we ran Furmark stress test, the GPU clock hovered around 1111 to 1136 MHz and the GPU temperature never went above 80 degrees Celsius. As we can see, the laptop got great cooling performance and never ran hotter than expected. The laptop is also very quiet, and while under load, the average decibels was around 36.5 and on idle it was around 29.3 decibels. And with other words, when you surf the web and do easy tasks, you won't even hear the laptop, and when you're gaming and doing more intensive work, you can hear the fans but not in an annoying way. For me, the battery life lasted around 6 to 7 hours depending on what I was doing. If you want an extremely good looking and sturdy laptop for heavy work and a little gaming, this is the perfect laptop for you. Please leave a like if you found this review helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.